Hi everyone, this is Kayla and I'm back with my second layout as the guest designer for June. And this week I am using a cut file from Paige Evans. It's the Paige font from her Etsy shop. You can get it in her Etsy shop for the Cricut, and then it's also available in the Silhouette Studio store as well if you have a silhouette. So I've cut the word peach out of that font. I just welded them together in the Silhouette software and then cut it out so it was one word and all the letters are attached. Then I also cut out some clouds, and I think you saw just a second ago kind of the general way I want to go about this. So I have my pictures kind of in three different spots, and I'm going to have three big clouds all in those that triangle, and then I will put some of the smaller clouds sprinkled around. So this is actually a cut file of Paige's as well. I don't remember the name, but I will link it below. And I cut it out in a 6x6 inch size, and I'm using the iridescent glitter paste from Vicky Bouton to add that as a stencil through that cut file on the background. So I did that in the spots that will be behind my photos just to add a little something. I liked that the iridescent feature isn't going to take away from the photos too much. It'll just be kind of a nice, somewhat subtle in the background by the time I get everything on there. And so I've moved that off to the side to dry, and now the color kit for June has three different paints in it from Bad Girls Couture, and this color is Kiss and Don't Tell, I believe. It's kind of a mint color. So I'm putting a layer of this on the cut file, and then I will grab a shimmers spray called 4-Leaf Clover that I'm going to use to mix with a little bit of the paint and add, it'll create a little bit of a different color, and then I'm going to just lightly spray that, sorry, I'm going to mix them together, and then I'm going to lightly brush it onto the cut file just to give it a little bit extra dimension. So it might be a little difficult to see in the picture, but I'm just wanting to create a little bit more dimension and interest to the cut file other than just the one mint green color. So I'm adding some, trying to make them a little bit darker, a little bit lighter, and just making it look somewhat, oh, what's the word? Make it look like it's supposed to be that way so that they kind of blend together and everything looks natural together. And then once I finish that up, I'm also going to grab some Heidi Swapp Color Shine. Oh, before I do that, I get a little brush and use some of the 4-Leaf Clover spritz from Shimmers to just add some drops. And I have to kind of manually place a few on the top just because with the sprinkling it's hard to get it on the skinny paper on the top of the letters. And then I will also add some drops with the Heidi Swapp Gold Color Shine as well. I just wanted to add a little bit something extra, like I said, just jazzing it up a bit. So, and again with this, I kind of had to manually place some at the top just because when you splatter, you can't really control where it goes, and I couldn't quite get some of it to go at the top, so I just put a few here and there. So I've got this done now, and I grabbed a bunch of different cardstocks from my stash that range from like a yellow to a peach to a dark orange color. Excuse me. And what I'm going to try and do is create a bit of an ombre effect in the open spots of the letter, because I plan to use a lot of the peaches from one of the pages in the kit. It's a page from Dear Lizzie's new collection, and it has a bunch of peaches and these pink little flowers around it. So I'm trying to get the colors that kind of go with the colors of the peaches. And I end up choosing 5 colors. And like I said, it goes from kind of a dark orange to kind of a corally peach to a light yellow. And I have 5 different cardstocks, and I end up cutting strips that are about 3/4 of an inch wide. And I was trying to figure out what size I wanted here. So the reason I'm actually going with a bunch of peaches on this is for my son. He's just turned 4 months old today, actually, but he doesn't have a lot of hair. He wasn't born with very much. And so right now, I have some pictures that it reminds me of Peach Fuzz, because it's just barely there. It's nice and soft, but just very light and fluffy and kind of sticks up. And so I'm doing all the peaches on the layout, and my title is going to be Surprise, Surprise, Peach Fuzz. So that's why I'm going with the peaches. So I've got these strips that I've cut out, and you can see right here, this is kind of how it's going to end up looking. But I decided I wanted to add some texture to it, and so I go and I get a few things that I'm like trying to distress the edge with, because I couldn't find my distressing tool. And finally I just give up and say, you know what, I'm just going to do it with my fingers, so that I can control it a little bit better too, of where some of the tears and everything are. So yeah, I've just, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm doing this a little too late at night. I'm adding some distressing and some tears and wrinkles, and I glue down that first piece. And then now I'm just showing you, I'm just eyeballing things here. I'm not really worrying too much, just trying to get somewhat even spacing. So now I've got the next layer down, and some of the pieces of cardstock weren't long enough, so I just take another piece and, you know, wrinkle up and use what I need. And so I'll try and line it up with that other layer, so I'm getting about the same amount of each color showing. I'm trying to make it look as seamless as possible, so that in the final result you can't tell that I had multiple strips going across the back. So here it is. I've done it with all the layers. I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's pretty much what I had envisioned in my head, so it's always nice when you can get that translated into reality. And then all I'm doing here is just cutting away the excess, so that it's back to the same shape as the cut file. That way it looks appropriate and you can see the peach and everything. And I really, really like how this turned out. I think it looks really cool in the end, and it's definitely going to be the main feature on my layout, as you'll see here in a little bit. So here we go, I've got it cut out, and my background is dry. And where the cut file is right now, the peach word is pretty much where it's going to end up. I want it front and center because I feel like it's kind of a statement piece. And then here we go, I've brought in with the alphabet, the alphas from this month, I wrote the word Fuzz, since, like I said, his hair reminds me of Peach Fuzz, and that's going to be my title. So I've got my pictures here, and I'm putting those on in the spots where I had added the glitter texture paste. And as you can see, I fussy cut all the peaches out from that pattern paper that's in the kit from Dear Lizzie. And now I am just trying to figure out kind of where I want to put them on the page. And I put them all on now, and I let you kind of watch it, see my thoughts, how I want to try and do it. Later on, though, in the video, I do cut out a lot of it, because after I put it all on here, just to get an idea, of course, I take it all off and then start doing other things, because why wouldn't I just put it all on there and take it off, put it all on there and take it off. So yeah, later in the video, there will be a part where it's just all of a sudden all the peaches are there and they're glued down. And that's just because I fussed a lot with where I wanted to put them, and I really didn't want to make everybody watch that because I don't think it's really important. This right here is pretty much doing exactly what I do for quite some time. Is just saying, oh, do I like where it's at? And then moving on. So I'm really just trying to sprinkle them around, cluster them with the clouds, and yeah. So I cut a lot of this out later on in the video, so just be aware of that. And I brought in the clouds mainly because I like clouds. I think they add a touch of whimsy to your layout, and I like whimsical layouts in general. And since it's about my son and he's a baby, I thought it would be nice. And on top of that, the clouds bring in a lot of extra white space. And so I feel like that helps make it so it's not so busy, because I'm going to layer a lot of those peaches around the page. And so it gives your eye a little place to rest. So what I'm doing right now is backing the cut file with a bunch of adhesive foam. It's just craft foam from Walmart, so it's inexpensive in the kids aisle. And I've backed the peach, and I've backed the 3 big clouds. It has a bunch of adhesive on it as well. So once I go ahead and get all the adhesive tape or ATG tape onto the foam, I'm going to adhere it down. And oh, I realized I missed a spot here in the middle of the H, and I wanted a little more support, so I put a piece down. And I'm going to get that down because I know for sure that's where I want it. So that's why I took all the peaches off, because I'm like, okay, let's get stuff that I know for sure is going to be down, and then I'll go back and add all the peaches. And even though I made the letters slightly off-center from each other, so it was kind of up and down versus just straight across, I still wanted to make sure it was fairly straight, so I did use my T-ruler just to double check that. And then I am going to go ahead here shortly and glue down my photos and the 3 larger clouds as well, because I know those are base pieces that I want to be in that spot. So you can see there I've added the foam to that. I just pieced it together until it supported most of the shape. And I'm wanting the clouds to go off the edge of the paper just a little bit because I know I'm going to have my clouds going, or excuse me, I'm going to have my peaches going off as well. And on this cloud, you'll notice I only backed half of it because of the fact that I'm going to be having it hang off the edge. So I just put foam behind the area that I knew would be on the actual page. So this is where I've jumped ahead quite a bit. I've gone through, and really all I've done is added peaches. You haven't really missed much else. I just, like I said, I didn't want to have you sit there and spend 5 hours watching me try and place where I wanted everything. So all I'm doing right now is adding just a few more to the edges where I feel like there needs to be some more orange, or where it just needs filled in a little bit more. So some of the oranges that I've already cut, you can see, are smooth with the edge. I did exactly how I'm doing it right now, where I just let them hang off, get them placed how I want it on the page. What hangs off, that's fine. And then I'll end up going back and just using my scissors to cut the edges of those off. And then the only other thing that I did was add my journaling to the one smaller cloud in the bottom right-hand corner of the page next to the photo. And I didn't really write too much other than just that my son's hair looks like peach fuzz, as I mentioned, and that that's pretty much how my hair was too when I was a baby, so he got that from me, unfortunately. And then I have glued down most of the other smaller clouds, but I've got this one here that I'm just kind of trying to figure out where I want it. And then because of the mixed media, I had to add a little extra glue there behind the peach cut file. And then I will end up adding this bumblebee die cut. It's from the Dear Lizzie ephemera pack. And then I do end up, off to the left of the screen there's a peach die cut that says You're a Peach, which is also from the Dear Lizzie pack that comes in the kit as well. And yeah, I'm just adding a little bit of extra glue behind these to make sure they stay. And then that You're a Peach die cut, there was a white border on it, but I went ahead and cut that off because I knew everything else that I had on the page, like the other peaches, didn't have that white outside rim, so I didn't want it on this one. I thought it didn't match as well. So I'm cutting out all the little inner pieces that have the white so that it matches with the rest of my fussy cut papers. And I'm going to just stick it up top there by the picture of my son kind of peeking over the cut file. And again, using lots of glue because it's right on top of that texture paste, and so it doesn't want to stick very well, making sure that it's stuck. And now I'm going to go through and just add some finishing touches. I want to bring in a few little word phrases. So these are from the Traveler's Notebook kit, I believe. They're from the One Canoe to Saturday Afternoon collection. Or no, excuse me, Goldenrod collection. So I bring 3 of those little like light green word stickers in and sprinkle them around in my little visual triangle I got going here. And then just kind of trying to figure out what else I might want. Oh yeah, I add extra glue to these word stickers because they didn't seem very sticky when I put them down. I wanted to make sure they stayed there. And then there are some acrylic shapes that I'm going to put on here. These, well, they're like mirrored acrylic shapes. And I assumed that they had a backing on them or like a protective barrier, but I could not find one. So I'm assuming they're not there. If they are stuck on there good, and I don't know how you would get them off without scratching the shapes. So I just stick them right on. I'm using the one word that says stay sweet, excuse me, and then 4 hearts. There's 4 hearts on the sheet that, or excuse me, 3, and then I use this little high circle. I really wanted to use the Sweet as a Peach shape, but they were too big, and at this point it was just gonna not look right with the rest of the stuff going on, because other than the peaches, most of my embellishments are pretty small, so I didn't end up using that one. And then I do, from this thickers sheet, which is also from the Goldenrod collection, bring in these kind of light green hearts that match the light green word stickers I put on. And I believe I put 4 of those on the page as well. And just sprinkle them around, and then I do go back on and add a bunch of adhesive behind them just to make sure that they're going to stick. And that's pretty much it. I do end up poking some holes behind the bumblebee die cut so that I can stitch with just some white embroidery thread a little trail, just to add a little bit of something behind him, a little bit of texture. And that's pretty much going to be it. It's a pretty busy page, but I prefer busy pages, and I like how it turned out. For the most part, it turned out how I expected it would in my head, so it's always great when that happens. So here you go, I'm just piercing a little trail behind the bumblebee, and then I'll get the white thread to stitch just a simple back stitch. And that's it. So again, this is my second layout. I hope you've enjoyed the process, and pictures are coming up here shortly, so you'll see some close-ups. I do have one more guest design project for next weekend, so I'll be back next Sunday with my last layout for the month, and I'll hope you check it out. Otherwise, have a great week, everyone, and thanks for stopping by. Bye.